Hello everyone, this is the CircuitPython weekly meeting for May 26th, 2026. It's the time of the week where we get together to talk about all things CircuitPython. I'm Scott, and I'm sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python designed to run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. CircuitPython development is primarily sponsored by Adafruit, so if you want to support Adafruit and CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from adafruit.com. This meeting is hosted on the Adafruit Discord server. You can join anytime by going to the URL adafru.it/discord. We hold the meeting in the CircuitPython dev text channel and the CircuitPython voice channel. This meeting typically happens on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, except when it coincides with a US holiday like it did yesterday. In the notes doc, there's a link to a calendar you can view online or add to your favorite calendar app. We also send notifications about upcoming meetings via Discord. If you'd like to receive these notifications, ask us to add you to the @CircuitPythonisa's Discord role. There is a shared notes document that accompanies the meeting and recording. You can contribute to this document beforehand. The final notes document includes timestamps to go along with the videos, so you can use the doc to skip around and view parts of the video that interest you most. The meeting tends to run 30 to 60 minutes. After each meeting, we post a link for the next week's meetings notes documents to the CircuitPython dev channel on the Adafruit Discord. Just look in the pinned messages for that latest notes doc, so that you can add your notes for the following meeting. If you wish to participate but cannot attend, you can still leave hug reports and status updates in the document for us to read during the meeting. This meeting is held in 5 parts. The first is community news. This is a look at all things CircuitPython and Python on hardware in the community. It's a chosen set of items from our Python on Microcontrollers newsletter. The second part is the state of CircuitPython libraries in Blinka. This is a quantitative overview of the entire project. It's a chance to look at the project by the numbers, separate from our status updates. Third is hug reports. It's an opportunity to highlight the good things folks are doing, taking the time to recognize the awesome folks in our community. Fourth is status updates. It's an opportunity to report on what we've been up to, take a couple of minutes and talk about what you've been doing in the last week since our last meeting and what you'll be up to over the next week. Fifth and final part is in the weeds. It's an opportunity for more long-form discussions. These discussions can come out of status updates or be something you've identified ahead of time as too long for status updates. If you have topics for that, go ahead and drop them in the notes document with your username and a summary of what the topic is. And that covers how the meeting will go. With that, let's start with community news. I will switch over to the meeting notes, take a time code, and read this off. So community news is a preview of our Python for Microcontrollers newsletter. We'll talk about more about that a little bit later, but first, 2 articles from it, from yesterday's. One, and I'm very excited about this, Mozilla and Adafruit bring web serial workflows to Firefox. So this week's, I think it was actually last week's, Firefox 151 release introduced support for the web serial API on desktop. Many folks won't use this API, but for our community of builders and tinkerers, it unlocks the ability to use Firefox to communicate directly with compatible hardware devices like microcontrollers, development boards, and other serial connected devices. There's a link to Distilled, and then I'll read this quote. With Firefox browser engine Gecko now supporting web serial, users can now connect, code, configure, and control compatible hardware directly from the browser in many workflows, often without additional software or complicated setup. As part of this week's launch, Adafruit, one of the internet's most beloved open source hardware communities, is collaborating with us to test and validate what browser-based hardware development can look like in Firefox with web serial support. If you've ever spent time with CircuitPython, browser-based board programming, custom controllers, sensors, classroom kits, STEM homework assignments, or a desk covered in blinking microcontrollers, you probably already know Adafruit. With web serial support in Firefox 151, Adafruit's browser-based hardware workflows now work directly in Firefox as well, with no additional software or complicated setup required for many projects. We invite you to give it a try, and it's a link to the Adafruit Web Serial ESP tool. I've also confirmed that this works on circuitpython.org/downloads. And then, relatedly, Mozilla officially confirms a 2026 Nova redesign, and you can enable it already, which I have not actually looked at. That's a good tease, because I am a Firefox user. Okay, I'll take a time code and talk about our second article. Python developers update the guidelines for using AI tools. The guidelines for using AI tools when contributing to CPython has just been updated. It's a must-read whether you're an existing or aspiring developer. The too long didn't read is you're still responsible for what you submit. And I'm curious about that too. I'll have to take a look. And those are the two things I pulled from this week's newsletter. The Python for Microcontrollers weekly newsletter is a CircuitPython. Oh man, messed up the timecode there. Okay, the Python and Microcontrollers weekly newsletter is a CircuitPython community-run newsletter emailed every Monday. The complete archives are available at adafruitdaily.com/category/CircuitPython. It highlights the latest Python on hardware-related news from around the web, including CircuitPython, Python, and MicroPython developments. To contribute your own news or project, email cpnews@adafruit.com, and we appreciate your contributions. So that's community news. Next up, we have the state of CircuitPython libraries in Blinka. This is a statistical overview of how CircuitPython and its related projects, so the core, the libraries, and Blinka are doing. But first, we'll talk overall. Overall, we had 25 pull requests merged from 11 authors, which is awesome. M. Traver, Jia Yi, Toddbot, Laney, Mikey Sklar, and Douglas P. Kelly are all names that I don't see very often. I'll just call out also that we actually had 3 bots here. We have Tyeth, AI assisted, Maker Melissa PyClaw, and Dependabot are all bots that are listed here as well. We had 7 reviewers, including Maker Melissa's bot, but also Maker Melissa herself, and a number of other reviewers. So thank you to everybody there. Issues-wise, we had 14 closed issues by 4 people and 9 open by 7 people, so we are staying on top of issues as a whole. Now I'll dive into the details of the core. So these numbers are just for the core. We had 7 pull requests merged from 4 different authors, including Toddbot, Mikey Sklar, and Maker Melissa's PyClaw, 2 reviewers, Dan and myself. We had 18 open pull requests, which is, again, comfortably under our goal of being under 25, which is a single page on GitHub. Issues-wise, in the core, we had 9 closed by 2 people and 7 open by 6 people, so a number of folks involved, and we're keeping on top of things. We have a total of 798 open issues, so it's awesome to be down under 800. Thanks to Dan last week, who went through a lot of stuff. We prioritize our work on issues for Adafruit-funded folks via the milestone system. Kind of the 2 top priority buckets are 10.2.x. These are issues that would be in the current stable release, but we have 0 open of those, so that's great. We have 60 open issues for 10.3, which is ambitious. 10.3 will be the next minor release of CircuitPython. And then the next major release was 11, and we have 13 open issues there. These stats do say we have 6 issues not assigned to milestones, so that's more than we often have. So I will take a look at that after this meeting just to make sure that we're staying up to date and we don't miss any urgent issues, although I'm sure Dan's on top of it. Okay, and with that, let's ask Foamy Guy to let us know about the stats for the libraries.
Thanks, Scott. This section covers all of the CircuitPython libraries. They are all hosted on GitHub under 2 main library bundles. We have the Adafruit library bundle, which has 393 libraries in it right now, and the community library bundle with 176 libraries in it. That is a total of 569 libraries currently that support various things on CircuitPython. In the past week, pull requests merged in the Adafruit bundle. We had 4, thanks to some authors, I think echoing a couple names that Scott mentioned, Jia Yi, M. Traver, and Mikey Sklar, authors this week on libraries. And then 5 reviewers, thanks to Tyeth, Brent, Dan, Scott, and myself for reviews this week on libraries. Of the pull requests that were merged, the oldest one was 8 days, the newest one was 1 day, and that leaves us right now with 40 pull requests open across the Adafruit bundle libraries. The oldest one of those is a draft that is 1,377 days. The newest one is 4 days. Issues-wise, we had 3 issues closed by 3 people, 1 new issue opened up by 1 person, leaving us with 782 open issues currently. And there are 2 of them right now that are labeled good first issues. Excuse me. You can find those 2 as well as the rest over at circuitpython.org/contributing, which is a website where you should head if you are interested in contributing to CircuitPython on the Python side of things. When you first pull up that page, again, it's circuitpython.org/contributing. You're going to find a list of open pull requests. These are links over to GitHub. They link to a page where a person has proposed a change in that repo, and it could be waiting for a person to review that change, and that could be you if you want to get involved. What you would do is click through to GitHub, read up on what the change was, take a look at the code that actually changed there, either in the GitHub interface, or you can clone it and look at it locally if you like. Leave a comment on GitHub letting us know what you found when you looked over the code. If you have the hardware for it, if it's like for a particular sensor or something that you have access to, then you could run it on that hardware as well. Make sure that it is still working, run the simple test, that sort of thing. And you can include information in your comment if you're able to do that. Let us know how it went, if you had trouble, anything like that. If you get comfortable with the process, you like to get leveled up to join the review team that we have there on Discord so that you can get kind of the mail and the notifications and stuff for when there's new stuff to look at. We can add you to that. If you would like to start submitting some of your own changes, you can also do that from the same page, the contributing page. If you click over to the issues tab, you will find a similar looking list of links over to GitHub, but these ones don't have a proposed change yet. They're waiting for a person who'd like to come along and make the change to close whatever the issue is. It could be fixing a bug or adding a new feature, maybe a new example, something like that. So in that case, you could click through, read up on the issue, figure out what it is, and then submit your own PR to resolve it. We do have a Learn Guide for contributing to CircuitPython using Git and GitHub. So if you need help with that, we can point you there. We also have folks who are more than happy to help you out here in the Discord. So head over to the Help with CircuitPython channel. And if you're trying to contribute or you're trying to review a PR or anything like that, you're having trouble with actions or pre-commit or any other part of the process, just come say hi, let us know what's up and what kind of trouble you're having. We would be happy to help you out. We want everyone to be able to contribute in whatever way works for them. And I will leave you this week with updates over in the community bundle. In the last 7 days, Key Manager is updated, which sounds like perhaps a password storage thing or something. I'm not actually sure, but that is our library update for this week. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Foamy Guy. Okay, with that, I will read the stats for Blinka. Blinka is the CircuitPython API compatibility layer. So this builds the CircuitPython API on top of other things, particularly within CPython on Raspberry Pi and other single-board computers, and then also the MicroPython. So that allows you to use all of the libraries, or many of the libraries from CircuitPython on top of those 2 platforms. So in Blinka, there were 14 pull requests merged from 5 authors. Laney, Douglas, P. Kelly are the humans I can see. And then there's PyCloud, Dependabot, and Tyth AI Assisted as well for authors. Dan, Melissa, and Melissa's PyCloud are all reviewers. There is 1 open pull request. The rest are closed, which is awesome. I think that list has been much longer prior, so good work. I suspect Melissa for getting through that. Within Blinka, there are 2 closed issues by 1 person and 1 open by 1 person. Net down 1, which is great, for 84 open issues on Blinka. And Blinka currently supports 174 boards. This is super common on like the little NVIDIA, BeagleBone, that sort of like single board computer. And that's it for the state of CircuitPython libraries in Blinka. Next up is Hug Reports. Hug Reports is a chance for us to say thanks to folks in the community for the awesome work that they've been doing. I will start and then read anybody who's out in the list and then hand it off to anybody who is in the chat as well. So first for me, as I find my timecode, I was listening to this on the way into the office today. So a hug to Kelly, Julian, and Toddbot for the Teaching Python podcast. They're talking about using CircuitPython in classrooms, and it's just really helpful to me to have a reminder that folks still find hard things about using CircuitPython, and those are things that I look forward to making easier. I think the web serial stuff is really exciting, I'm excited to lean into that more. So thanks to them for that podcast. Next up, I have notes from Dan. Dan is out today, so Dan has one hug for Mikey Sklar, who did SD card fixes in CircuitPython. And now I will kick it over to Foamy Guy.
All right, I have hug reports this week. Thank you to Yano, who pointed out a file that I had missed on my drive while I was streaming, working on some web workflow stuff. This file was kind of the key to what was wrong with my code at the time, so it was very helpful to have that pointed out. And then also hug report thanks to Anne and Liz, who both review the guides that I work on, and in particular the current one offered some really good feedback that made it a lot better. So I appreciate them always reviewing my guides and making them better. And that's what I have. Thanks.
Thank you. And next up is Relic SE.
I just wanted to thank Todd for his recent work on the speed changer module, which has been really awesome for sampling work, and he's really helped me get through some issues I had with it. I also want to thank Tim for pointing out that my key manager library is very ambiguously named. I did not think about it before because it's not for password keys.
I know, it's like the idea of namespaces really can come into things. I remember the first time I heard AGI, I was like, why are they talking about taxes, like adjusted gross income? That doesn't make any sense. And it was, no, it's artificial general intelligence. And all the rage, apparently, too. Okay, on that tangent, next up we have status updates. This is done in a similar fashion. I will start and go through the folks in the list. This is a chance for you to say what you've been working on and what you plan on working on in the coming weeks. So for me, I'm very excited for today, actually, and I'll get to that in just a bit. But last week I was waiting for the hardware I had designed to arrive. So I was working on a new website called Breadboarding. That's breadboard.ing. And it's basically fritzing for the web. It's all vibes, so if you have things you want to change, feel free to use an LLM to help change it. But it's basically, yeah, aimed at being fritzing for the web. The problem I was trying to solve was for the hardware in the loop tests, making it easy to just say, I have this board on top of this board, and it automatically figuring out how they're connected. So I made great progress with that last week. I'm pretty excited about it, so give that a whirl. Friday at 5, after I was done working, I got my JLC PCB order. So I have the new P4 hardware in the loop board, version 2 of the GPIO board, and also some swirly grids that are 22 by 5, so they're big enough to fit in an IKEA calyx. So it's a place for me to stash all of these hardware in the loop boards. So now this afternoon I'm going to be headed to the makerspace and test the board design to make sure it all works. I realized that I have a jumper to connect the power and I don't have the jumper soldered on there, so I couldn't even plug it in to see if it came up on USB because the USB power is behind a jumper. So that's one of the first things I'll do, and then I need to get it all usable for actual development and testing. So get a bunch of them set up and figure out how to get the firmware actually reliably testing stuff. So it's here. That's going to be my week at least. Hopefully I won't have to do a respin, knock on wood, but we'll find out soon. Okay, next up, I will read Dan. Dan's out today, but around this week. Dan says they fixed half a dozen minor issues last week and are now working on a BLE regression on Espressif, coincident with the ESP IDF 6.0.1 upgrade. There was already an issue with Nimble running out of memory on previous 10xx versions. And Foamy Guy says, or actually I'll just kick it over to Foamy Guy and you can give the update as well.
Yeah, I went and looked at the key manager thing here so we don't leave a cliffhanger for anyone. I figured it'd be good to catch them up what it is. It's for musical notes. So the top quick little about description there is tools to manage notes in musical applications, including priority, arpeggiation, and sequencing. So very cool stuff. That library was updated this week. Thanks to Cooper for publishing that. And then my status updates for the week. I have been working on the guide for the embodiment kit project, as well as improving some of those pages, again, thanks to a review from Ann and Liz. And then I did another iteration on the I2S in PR and tested that on both ports again. And then something I started on this weekend is extending the CircuitPython runner agent skills. We have a relatively small repo out there for agent skills, which have a couple of things that I've used while working on CircuitPython driver libraries. And one of them is a script and a skill that allows the agent to copy a code file to a CircuitPython drive and then connect over serial and get the results of running it. So I was working on extending that to web workflow with sort of eyes on a similar conceptually thing to what Scott's talking about with hardware in the loop testing, but not for like the core of CircuitPython itself, more for the libraries, and without the need to test some of the sort of lower level USB stuff like that. So this would be sort of a CircuitPython web device running web workflow just on the same network as another computer, and there could be a PyTest script in the library repo or somewhere that can communicate over web workflow, run some code against that device and get the result back, and then compare to make sure that it's what is expected. So I started just kind of going down that road in the beginning stages. I did get web workflow, and it is a web socket when you do it that way to read the serial output working. So I think it will be relatively easy to take what I have from the serial one and adjust it for that. But that's where I'm headed. And then the last thing I have is I found an issue on the Memento device. I pulled this out to start looking at some camera effect filters stuff, and I noticed on the latest builds of CircuitPython, it's not able to initialize the camera anymore. It can't find it on the the I2C bus, and I created an issue for that, but I have not dug further yet. I just wanted to get it written down somewhere so I can remember to go back to it. And that's what I've been up to. Thanks.
Thank you for the issue. I suspect it's with the IDF6 update. ESP camera, the submodule had to be updated too, so I bet it's all related to that. And in this LLM world, I'm like, oh, how should we have automated testing for that? Okay, last up, we have In the Weeds. This is a section where we talk about kind of longer form stuff that folks have, questions, comments, that sort of thing. We do have one topic from Relic SE, so I will kick it over to them to talk about it.
Thanks, Scott. So this is something I believe that we've talked about a lot in the past, but I just kind of wanted to iterate with the upcoming I2SN that Tim and basically everyone here has been working on. I was looking over Audio Bus IO, that module, of which we have PDMN on there, and it is flagged out using just a simple compile time flag for platforms which don't support it, etc. Whereas in the I2SN module, we're going for the route of creating a new module that's basically just for that feature. I guess I wanted your opinions or your reasoning behind why we're using a separate module rather than including it with Audio Bus IO, which we already have.
I don't like that we did that with Audio Bus IO.
Okay. That's what I thought the answer was.
Because the reason that I don't like that is because it moves where you find out that you don't have support for something, right? So like if you do it on a per module basis, it's just an import, right? Like whenever you import, you get an error that it's not supported, and that's really nice. There was just a few hangovers where we put things together that we shouldn't have, and an Audio Bus IO is one of them. In fact, that makes me think maybe we should actually split them out further in preparation for 11. Like we could support, we could do the opposite and in 10 so that we could start moving away from that too.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest point of confusion is just there's multiple ways of this being done currently. And
right.
If it was all done the same way, then there wouldn't be any confusion.
Yeah, it's for those who don't know the history, so we started with MicroPython's machine module, and as I looked into that, one, it wasn't clear to me exactly how to implement everything, and it was also clear that their goal was to be a stronger, more closely tied to the way that the system on a chip worked. And I thought oh, you know what I really want? I want to worry less about how the chip works and more about what particular thing I'm trying to achieve. And I actually did that in a module called Native IO. And like right before we did like the first beta, I think we were like, you know what? Like, let's not put everything together. And we split it out, and that's where we got like bus IO and stuff. But like, so I had the right intuition, but in my opinion now, I didn't go quite far enough. And audio bus IO is one of the places I just didn't go quite far enough.
Yeah, and actually, with that in mind, the Teaching Python podcast I've just been listening to kind of goes into some of those differences too, which I find interesting.
Okay, I'm not actually finished with it, so maybe I'll hear it on the way up to the
No
makerspace. But I mean, it you know, and this is why I said in my hug reports is like it's a really good reminder that like it's worth doing these API changes so that we can get them consistent. Because Cooper, you're not the only person that's like, I always have to like give this feedback of like, no, just make a new module. It's fine. Like make a new module. Like, and that way we can like control it off and on, and like it's totally fine for it to be a new module.
Well, with that in mind, I actually had another conversation I wanted to have. I've been talking with Todd Bot about this in regards to that speed changer module that he has, or the object there. The work that he had done on that, it made sense because I've been working on a synthesizer recently that combines synthesis with SynthIO as well as sample playback. And, one of the limitations there is I have to make sure that the samples used are always the same sample rate as the synthesizer, which is fine and all, except if you want to optimize your storage space or whatever, you kind of want to use lesser quality samples while keeping your synthesizer at a higher quality for its fidelity, right? Anyway, so one of the ideas we had is potentially we could roll this kind of some of the work in Speed Changer into a resampler kind of module that could potentially take in a source and just format it as it needs to be formatted for the sync, right? And I just wondered if y'all had any ideas on that before we start any work on that. And if it should go in that same module too.
Yeah, I mean, generally I would put it in a new module, but it depends on how much you're planning on sharing. Like, this is a case where it's purely code. It's not, you're not hardware dependent at all. So I think there is some argument that it's okay to put it in the same module, but the consideration is like, there are going to be builds that are quite small. And so by still having them separate, you can make a decision about which one you want. Generally, the older modules that were already included, we keep. But it's possible that like if you want to add the resampler to this, I probably wouldn't call it audio speed anymore. Maybe just audio resampler.
Okay.
Because like I think of resampling as like kind of part of speed. Or you could like have this relationship where like you actually have resampler first and like audio speed is dependent on it. That's something we do as well, where it's like, oh, like if we have space, we'll add resampler, and then if we have more space, we can do speed, because speed uses resampler under the hood.
Yeah, I could see that working. I think I need to take a deeper look at the code because ideally they would share like 90% of the work.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Yeah, and then the other thing is like there's a lot of that sort of code already in there, because we do a lot of it under the hood.
And in a theoretical world, it'd be great if we didn't have to worry about this and all this was just handled in a global aspect of some sort. But that would be probably a lot more work and refactoring. So
yeah, I was like, when I was first doing this, my assumption was like you wanted to share buffers across things, and so you were going to have a standard sample format for all of those buffers. It's kind of like why it ended up that way. But I am totally open to changing how this works.
I think it's better to start small, but we'll see.
No, just change it all.
Just ask AI to go at it.
To some degree, I've done that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have some branch that's like display IO on top of LVGL instead, and I still haven't looked at it. But yeah, something I'd like to do at some point as well. Cool. Well, I hope that helped clarify things, and that adds splitting audio bus IO apart to CircuitPython 11 in my book too, which I think would be good. All right, so thank you, Cooper, and let's wrap up. I'll take a time code. So thank you to everybody who's joined us for the CircuitPython Weekly for May 26, 2026. If you want to support Adafruit and CircuitPython, and those of us that work on CircuitPython, consider purchasing from the Adafruit shop at adafruit.com. The video of this meeting will be released on YouTube at youtube.com/Adafruit, and the podcast, aka the audio from the video, will be available on every major podcast service. It will also be listed in the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter next week. You can visit adafruitdaily.com to subscribe to that. The next meeting is a normal time again, so Monday next week at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. That's June 1st. It is held on the Adafruit Discord server, which you can join anytime by going to the URL adafru.it/discord. If you want to be notified about the meeting and any changes to the time or day, you can ask to be added to the @CircuitPythonistas role on Discord. With that, we hope to see you all next week. Have a great week, and thank you, everybody.